How's it going, everyone? Welcome to episode 5 of the ControllerCast. Thank you for coming back and joining us after a 1 week hiatus while we were all on vacation. Had the boys come down and visit Arizona, and we had a pretty damn good time. And yeah, that's the most exciting thing that's happened to me in the past week or two. But I'm ready to be here for episode 5. Parker, what you been up to, and how you doing?
Yeah, man. So pretty much just came back from Arizona, Always love going on those trips because you get to just see all your friends and just have a great time, man. I feel like the audience needs to know about a couple of the memes that came from that trip. So the first night we came in, right? So this was April 1st. So that was like Thursday night, I believe.
Yeah, Thursday night.
Yeah.
So the very first night we go in, we go out to the pool area. We're all sitting at this table right outside, just having a good time, just talking, catching up. And then this group of like 5 or 6 people just comes up to us out of nowhere, right? And there's one guy holding a Fireball bottle. They look like straight frat dudes, like people that are just not people that I'd personally like talking to be honest. But
why? How are you already making this call, Parker?
Because they just look like those typical frat boys that just want to what's it called? Haze you into their group.
Okay.
Or just weird people, dude. But the very first guy that started talking to us was like, "Yo, I grew up Catholic. This dude right here is Muslim, he's Buddhist, but that doesn't matter, man. We are the faded crew." And he says it like it's so cool, right? Like, yeah, we're the faded crew. Like, dude, that is so lame. And then he just goes around asking for our names, and while we were in the middle of that, he was like, "These aren't fake names, right?" And at this point, I'm like, this dude is sketchy. Like, these people are like FBI or something. Like, what's going on? and then, like, as we get further in the conversation, he starts talking about how, like, they wanted to run the bags. Like, we were right next to, what's it called? A cornhole set. So
and they call that bags, too.
Yeah, it's called bags, but, like, the way they said it, like, we got some bags. You trying to run them? And we're like,
yeah, like these guys come out of nowhere.
Like, dude, these guys were just trying to be sketchy, or like they were trying to make us be freaked out like the whole time. And then after
they succeeded, bro. They succeeded in freaking me
honestly,
out.
The best way to describe like that whole thing was just like they're just acting like weirdos the whole time. They were just acting
weirdos,
like,
bro.
Like they like how the hell like let me back this up. How what makes you think acting like that to just total strangers, like just completely strange terminology that's being used, like they're just huddling around us, like just acting super sus, like that's like the worst way to make a first impression on anyone. Like, and I was just like, what the hell is going on here? So
it was just so fitting that happened like the first night of the trip. Like, just to open things up, right? Just one meme created already, the faded crew. This is something we're going to reference in the show, I'm pretty sure, later on. So I figured we'd talk about it as soon as possible because I know it's going to be referenced again.
Yeah, I had to mention that guy was Mormon. He's like, "I'm Mormon. This guy's Christian, or he was Christian."
Oh my god.
He's like, "I'm effed up.
I'm effed up.
So like, that guy, he started off the conversation with a bottle of Fireball in his hand, saying he's effed up, and he's asking for all of our names, and like not trusting that we were giving him the correct names. Like, what?
Dude, we were just chilling here. Like, come on, leave us alone, bro.
Yeah, and like the weirdest part is like, hey, you guys got any bags? That's what he asked us, and we're like, no, we don't have any bags. And then he's like,
we thought it was Coke speed.
Well, yeah, and then he's like, well, I got like bags if you're trying to like run them. And I'm sitting here at first thinking like, okay, is he talking about bags like cornhole? Like, because like why would you ask us if we have bags? If you got bags, like if you're gonna supply, then why you even asking? Like, it was just like I don't know. It was just such a strange conversation.
That's not a way to make friends for sure. But I also wanted to talk about a couple other memes that happened across this trip. So a few days go by on this trip, right? And we were listening to Franchise by Travis Scott. And we noticed something very interesting in that song. So there's just this distinct clip, right? Where you hear, "Hey, call the Sprite people." And I'm thinking
it's a start of Young Thug's verse.
Yeah, and as soon as we heard that, we're like, who exactly are the Sprite people? And this developed a whole bunch of dialects, right? Like this became the Sprite people. It became the Sprite people. Like there's so many different dialects.
This is our sense of humor.
It just shows how goofy that this trip got. Like, and I feel like Sprite people come back.
And if anyone knows us well, they know this about us. But if you guys don't know, whenever there's a joke that gets introduced into our friend group, we take that joke and we just start devolving it into just pure caveman speak by the end of its by the end of its lifespan as a joke, which is a few years. It just has turned into like unintelligible blabber.
But we all know exactly what we're saying.
Yeah. But if any of the Sprite people are watching today, I just want you to know that Young Thug made you into who you are today. So that's
he wants to talk to you.
So repeatedly throughout this Arizona trip,
trying to call.
Throughout this Arizona trip, we were just referencing the Sprite people and the Faded crew, just like left and right, man. Like
left and right.
And this happens with all sorts of songs, like where we'll just find something stupid to just get hooked onto a line in any song and then just start referencing that song in the weirdest way as possible.
I wanted to talk about our Arizona trip and the memes because that just helps you guys get to know us a little bit better and know some of the stupid jokes that we can make up and just reference on the podcast at any point. So just be ready for it.
Yeah, I thought the Arizona trip was great. I mean, we arrived Thursday night. We flew out with Parker, me and my fiance. And when we got there, it was such a great time. It was so much warmer than it was in Omaha immediately. And you know, we had the memes and some really good times while we were there. I think my favorite part though was honestly the hike. Like, dude, I was still sore for a few days after that.
The 30-minute
hike. Yeah, like my calves, dude. My calves were really.
Dude, I felt like I was walking at a 45-degree angle, like.
Yeah, like literally as like at an incline that someone could physically walk. We were doing.
I felt like if you stopped walking and just gave up, like in the middle of that steep hill, like you would fall. Like it would be one of those where you couldn't keep your balance if you just stopped going.
Oh, for sure.
And if it just so I live in, just for the viewers' information, I live in Tempe, Arizona, and if you've been to Tempe, you know there's a mountain, aka Hayden Butte is the general term, but everyone calls it a mountain. It's just in the middle of downtown. It's like a 20 to 30-minute hike up to the top. Not very tall, but the beginning is very, very steep. So that's what they're referencing. I think if anyone goes to a mountain, they'll also, or has been to Tempe and gone up a mountain, they can say that beginning is very steep.
Yeah, the second half of the hike was a lot easier. Like that is for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, even though it was a lot rockier in the second half, it was a lot easier because you weren't just going straight up.
You could keep your traction on that rocky stuff. Like it's hard to keep traction on an angle, like a 45-degree angle, and keep your balance. Like that was freaking me out, dude. That's like
I thought I was gonna fall backward.
That was one of the few times I was freaked out, like during a hike.
Yeah,
but I love. But once we got to the top, there's some classic pictures that we got.
Yeah, so in that same day, actually, another really exciting thing for me was that I got a new job. I got an offer from Mutual of Omaha. They're a company out of Omaha here. Um, so I'm really excited about that. I finally get out of the like call center environment. Um, and I also spent some time this week listening to the new AJR album that came out. Um, this came out March 26th, so it's not super duper recent. But I don't like to talk about an album, right after first listen. I like to give it a few listens. Um, like it's crazy to me, and maybe you guys can attest to this as well. But I listen to a lot of AJR, and they almost sound like a modern day like Beatles to me. Like they've got such a unique sound, and they combine so many different instruments in a way that's really not heard in any other music today. Like this is definitely the kind of album that I think will grow on you as you listen to it. Um, it's got a couple of songs you can bang out anytime, but I think the album as a collective work is something really special, and I think it's really ahead of its time. To me, all the songs in the album are pretty good, but some of my favorite are 3 O'Clock Things, Way Less Sad, Bang, and the first track, OK Overture. The first track is so freaking cool. Like, OK Overture encompasses the entire vibe of the album better than like any opening track I've heard. Um, and they put like the instruments, the melodies, and the sounds from the entire rest of the album into this song. Like they preview every single song in this one song. And they're super self-aware as artists too. Um, and this song highlights that a little bit too. They make music they love, and they don't really care who listens. And I really like that about AJR and their newest album. Um, but what did you guys think of some of the songs you've heard?
So
Maybe Ursula, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So, yeah. Let me. What was it? I'm trying to figure out where to start. Okay. So, just for reference, this is how. What genre would you classify this under, John?
Probably alternative.
Alternative.
Almost like the closest artist I could compare AJR to would be probably like 21 Pilots,
That's what I.
I would
Okay. Yeah.
say, with
Yeah.
like their sound.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I guess alternative. But this kind of more electronic tinge would it be okay to say they're a little more like in that lane, John?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like that sort of music coming into listening to this because knew John wanted to talk about it, so I wanted to give it a listen too. This is not my lane of music. I know all of us have slightly different avenues, and I think this is an avenue where me and John don't overlap in very much. But I still went in and listened to the album as a very casual listener to this kind of music, and uh, I I enjoyed it. It was like good sounding music. I will say the best observation I could give was I thought some of the writing in the songs was more clever than music I usually hear from this genre or this type of music. I felt like the writing was very well done. Um, but I think what I look for in music is a little bit different. So it's not like I don't think I would come back to this music very often. But I think that's just probably the beauty of music in general, where for me, whenever I listen to something that like I usually get drawn in by, like the vibe, a certain vibe. Like what type of vibe is it kind of creating for me? I know John, like this. I was not surprised at all that you really enjoyed this album because just from the songs that I listened to. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but from the songs I heard, it matched up exactly with what I know you enjoy in music. Is part of that a big part of that is being really like kind of getting into a mood or like getting amped up, getting into like a really like upbeat mood with music. So
Right.
I thought it really matched up well um, with what you look for in music, and what I know you look for in music sometimes. But I just want to ask: is this album like I don't know if you're tapped into certain circles better than I am, but uh, is it being viewed as something like that's this like absolute masterpiece of an album? Because I mean, you were saying like these guys are like the next Beatles, and like this, you know, this album is like, you're giving it sounds like your highest possible praise. Is that the general kind of consensus this album is getting, or is that just your own personal take?
So I did actually, I did try to find some reviews on it, but I didn't find a whole lot yet. A couple of the ones that I did find were actually not the most positive, but to me, like, I mean, AJR, they've kind of called out critics in their music before, so I'm not super surprised by that. I wouldn't necessarily, they're like the next Beatles per se.
Yeah.
I think that's a super bold claim, but they have a similar vibe to them. Like this album almost reminds me of like Magical Mystery Tour, where it's just like totally out there, and like half the album is super weird actually, from someone that wouldn't normally listen to this type of music. But for me, it's so unique, that it's super well regarded for me. And there's probably half the songs are like really feel good, like, songs. I mean, they like to focus more on like, you know, how adult life kind of sucks, but you know, we're all getting through it together and we can all kind of agree that it sucks, but to look at like the small things and what really matters. And that's kind of like what they talk about. And I love that. But I'd really be interested to see like how everyone is perceiving the album. I do know there's a few pretty mainstream songs on the radio that like Parker's heard, so I know that to a certain extent it's got some popularity.
Yeah, that.
What did you think about it,
So
Parker?
I've only heard about 3 or 4 songs off this album, but I can get like a pretty good tell off of that. Like, it's very unique, and like I would not compare it to the Beatles, to be honest with you. That's the Beatles are just like one of my favorite. That's top 5 category. But the AJR, they remind me of like. Have you guys heard of the Glass Animals at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like another alternative kind of like they. It's just more like different kinds of instruments. They use kind of different sounds than you're used to hearing. And I really like that aspect of AJR. I'm not the biggest fan of their music, just because it seems like it gets a little overplayed. Because I like to listen to like Sirius XM radio a lot, like when I'm on my way to work, and AJR just gets blasted all the time on those stations, man. And it just makes me sick of it like pretty quickly, to be honest with you. But yeah, other than that, I like the idea that they have. Like, I'm a big fan of alternative music. Like, that's one of my favorite genres, and they tap into
Tame
that pretty
Impala.
well.
I love Tame Impala.
Tame Impala is great, man.
Yeah,
and we could have a whole different conversation about that on another episode. But like the Glass Animals too, like any sort of those groups that make songs like that. I think that AJR does it I honestly think they might do it the best, because they reach out to the most people and they're able to talk about topics that not a lot of other like John said, criticizing the critics. Like, not many artists can do that nowadays. So I'm just glad that they're going unique. They're not just the same as every other band. They're not generic. I just wish it were a little less mainstream.
Well,
fair. Yeah, I mean, I think they're mainstream to a certain extent. But they definitely, you know, have their niche market with like the rest of their album, because like I would say 2 or 3 songs from each album goes pretty big, but that's really it. And I think that a lot of people wouldn't listen to a lot of the other
that's what I miss.
Just
that's totally what I'm missing out on. Like, I would definitely have higher praise, you know, like if I had more of a perspective like on the whole album.
Right, because they're not going to play like the weirder songs
Exactly
They're not gonna play the weirder ones on the radio.
And that's where you find the gems, man. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Also, John,
exactly the unique ones.
is the album's name? Is it OK Overture or is it OK Orchestra?
OK Orchestra, OK Overture is the first
Oh,
song.
okay. Whoops, my bad. I was like wondering. I was like, wait, did I listen to the right album? Because I was like, I swear I listened to something called OK Orchestra. But I guess wrapping up your thoughts on this, Sean. Like, do you have a rating? I feel like you would have a rating the way you're talking about it.
Yeah, definitely. Just off of like the first 4 or 5 listens, like true listens. I've listened to like songs here and there out of it, but 4 or 5 like true full listens of the album, I'd probably give it a good 8 out of 10. I would say that it's probably one of their better albums for me, but there's a few songs that I won't come back to, and for me personally, with like an album, if I'll listen to every song and I enjoy it, and I think like it's a good, story or like a good piece of artwork, then I'll give it like a 10. But if there's certain songs and stuff that I know I won't come back to, then I'll knock that rating down a little bit. And I don't think that the quality of the album is knocked at all. There's just a few songs that I don't personally go back to. So that's kind of why I give it an 8.
So-
There's just like 2 or 3.
It's
out of
very-
15.
Sorry,
go
Arson,
ahead,
keep
Parker.
going. Well, it's very rare to find an album that's like every song is absolutely amazing, Like, the only album that I've listened to or I've liked every song and gone back to every one of them is Starboy. Like one of those iconic.
Yeah.
It has to be like to the like top 5, top 3 album to really have every song be something that you go back to and listen to.
So John,
Right.
I wanted to ask you, like, or Parker, you too, really, just because we're talking about like rankings and stuff. So I think I talked about this a few episodes ago, where what exactly each number in the scale means to me, like, just so the viewers also or the listeners also have a better idea when we're rating it. So like I just for refresher, like my top 10 or like my ranking, it was 1 to 10 would be like, if it's 1 through 4, it just different ranges of terrible to bad. 5 is average. 6 is like slightly above average, decent. 7 I think is good. 8 I think is great. 9, the 9 range is like amazing, like one of the best of its like genre or whatever. Or best in the past few years, and then like 10 is like not perfect but masterpiece. Is an all-time great kind of thing. Like what? So John, how would you describe your ranking system?
And I'm not even just saying this to cop out or anything, but that's like exactly what I go off of too. And for me, like the AJR album, it didn't hit like a 9 or anything, because I don't think that this is going to be looked back on necessarily as like one of AJR's best albums, but it was a really great album. But it like, it didn't get like an 8.5 because there's a few songs that, I won't come back to and I think are almost stinkers on the album. But yeah, it gets a solid 8 for me. It's a great album. It just doesn't hit the mark where I think that, in a few years I'll come back to it and
Bang it out.
Really, yeah, exactly. Like for me, Beer Bongs and Bentleys. That's one that I banged out this last week.
Yeah.
That's a 9 for me. It's not perfect, but
that album was probably like in the 8 range for me, but. Yeah, Parker, do you have anything you want to add to this?
So for my ranking systems, anytime I rank something, it's pretty much the same as you guys, but 10 is absolutely perfect. 10 is you cannot do anything better. This is number 1. There's nothing else that touches this.
But is anything really perfect? I feel like you could take anything and
that's exactly what I was going to start saying. Like I've never given anything a 10. Because there's always stuff to improve, like in a piece of work, like it's there's still room to work and make it better. So that's why we have these ranking systems, just to measure out exactly among everything. Because if you give a bunch of different pieces of works 10, like, or if you give like a couple pieces of work 10s, which one's better? You know what I mean? Like, I'm personally not going to give anything a 10 unless I am absolutely blown away and like shocked.
So you've never been blown away.
So with a 10
have you never been blown away or shocked?
Okay, I've been blown away by work, but like I don't know. It's just I probably won't give anything a 10 unless something absolutely crazy happens, and like I don't see any way it could be improved, which never happens.
What were you saying, John?
That's fair. So like, would you ever truly have a 10 out of 10 for anything, Parker, or would you have like a lot of 9.8s, 9.9s?
I'd have a lot of 9.75s and a lot of 9.8s.
Yeah, like I think that's
fair.
that's always like a debate to be had. Is like, like if it's the 10 out of 10 10 out of 10 ranking for anything, what does that mean? And I think that always just changes depending on the person. Because I think me and John are in the boat of, well, we'll give things 10 out of 10 rankings because to me a 10 out of 10 is like if it pushes the medium forward or something like that, where it's like genre defining or really a masterpiece or a classic. That's for me is what a 10. Because I think if you look at anything objectively, you can probably find issues in every single thing that's ever been created. So, but okay, I think that's all we really have to say on all this stuff. But John, I'm glad you enjoying the AJR album so much. But are you guys ready to get into the news, the current events? I'm ready.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, let's get into some news.
All right, so starting off, this is a little sad and some somber news to start off, but yesterday, or on Friday, which is the 9th, I believe. Yes, April the 9th, DMX passed away. He was a legend. And, I just want to say, he was a huge influence to the hip hop game and had so many classic songs that people, the fact that he released banger after banger in the 90s and early 2000s, and you'll hear those songs still being played at parties or wherever you go. That's a huge testament, having your songs being played, over 10, 15, 20 years later. There's so many people that he's probably inspired in the rap game itself. So, just I guess a salute to DMX. Do you guys have anything to say?
So DMX has always been. I've listened to him since I was a kid, man. Like, he just has some bangers for the century, Like, he basically changed the whole rap game. Like, when he first came out, rap became less about like going up against the system, like with NWA and like all that. But when DMX really started to come into the picture, that's when rap started to become party music. That's when it started to become like a staple in the game. It really just changed the whole genre. There's so many influences to modern rap that DMX has brought. I'm honestly, man, I've got Rough Riders stuck in my head right now. Through this whole podcast, because I had listened to that a few times yesterday. It is just such a good song. So many just bangers, dude. I could not say enough about DMX, and I hope his family's doing well, and I hope the best for everybody else in the rap game too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, the influence that DMX has had in the game is ridiculous. Like, I think it's pretty interesting, Parker, that you highlighted, how rap used to be about, like, F the society,
cops.
F the people holding us down. But, like, DMX kind of switches up the mantra a little bit, where it's like, X gonna give it to you. Like, I'm gonna fuck your fuck your shit up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna like he's a badass. and I think that's gonna be like really missed. Like, yeah, he hasn't come out with a lot of music lately, but he died young, and I think his music is gonna live on for a long time. I mean, X Gon Give It To You is like in every trailer for any
Yeah.
action
Where the
movie
hood at? Where the hood
ever.
at?
Yeah. Seriously.
So many bangers.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, but and
That
then
too. But
yeah, and then there was another passing. I don't have much to say on this. Honestly, the Duke of Edinburgh passed away. All I have to say is the photos that came out like a month ago of him in that car. You could have probably like said like blown air on him, and he would have passed away. That's how he looked like in that one.
Yeah, dude, he was like
Oh,
98
man.
years old, wasn't he?
99, I think.
Yeah, it was about time, but still sad for sure.
Princess Elizabeth or Queen Elizabeth or whatever is gonna just live on forever,
How
it
old is she?
seems.
Do you guys know?
No, she's been 94 for like 100 years.
I don't know how that
She's
one
so
works,
old,
but
dude.
I
Yeah.
can see it.
And then yeah, Prince Philip. Prince
So
Philip was looking
old.
like a Black Ops zombie when right before he passed away. But R.I.P. to yeah,
Yeah, he
R.I.P.
was,
to
dude. I remember
yeah.
those pictures. Well, not to clown on him too much, obviously. Rest in peace, but
Suds, yeah, Suds.
RIPs
the
in the chat.
suds.
The Clinton Suds photo. Okay. Oh my god. If anyone has seen the Suds photo of Clinton, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Let's keep it rolling. So Disney Plus, they said near the end of March actually that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier had their biggest debut on the platform. So more than WandaVision, more than anything they've released. John, I just wanted to ask you about this because you've been keeping up with the show. Just give the rest of us, give the audience like mid-season update. You know, like how is the show halfway through the season? Because I've only seen the first episode. I'm thinking about just waiting, but I wanted to just give us a short summary of your thoughts about where it is halfway through.
Yeah, so I'm really surprised that because I didn't know it was the biggest debut in Disney Plus. I'm really surprised by that because I think it's pretty boring. I mean, it was pretty boring up until, for me, like this last episode. I believe episode 4. So I guess that would be, yeah, probably the middle of the season. But this newest episode definitely gives a sense of direction for where the Falcon and Winter Soldier is going, because I feel like we were all kind of wondering, like, okay, is this going to be like post blip stuff? Is this going to be, are we going to see the Captain America arc further on? But this latest episode 4, it really gives the audience a good idea of where the series is going. And I think this latest episode was super good. And I think that, maybe this series would be the one that would be good to just wait on. Just wait until all the episodes are out and binge it. Like WandaVision, I think we were all excited week to week to really see the episodes fold out. But for this, it feels more like a drawn out movie rather than a TV show. It feels just like things are taking very long to develop, but finally some stuff is starting to develop. And Ursula, I think you're really actually going to enjoy it as it goes on. But I hope that stick the landing for sure, because they've got something good going. Finally, 4 episodes in.
Yeah, and there's only 6 episodes in the whole season too, which is funny. Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought.
Yeah, no, it's gonna end at episode 6.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're gonna have to definitely wrap some stuff up.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on that. I mean, in a few weeks when it ends, like I'll catch up with it, and then me and John will probably give our own little review for the whole season whenever that happens. So probably like maybe episode 8.
Yeah,
I don't know. Also, they put out the Loki trailer. I thought this I thought the trailer was sick. It got me a lot. It got me. It's the same thing with WandaVision, where it's like a simple concept or a concept that doesn't seem that exciting. They find a way to make really cool, interesting looking. So I'm probably the most excited for the watching the Loki show over the watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But John, what do you think about the trailer?
The trailers got me really excited for Loki. I mean, Marvel always has this kind of mantra with their trailers where I feel like they only really give you a taste of the first like 10% of what it's actually going to be about. So I don't really know what to expect, because if that's the case, and maybe the first episode or two only they focus on like, Loki, as they said in the trailer, going back and fixing the timeline that he screwed up. If that's what it's about, just in like, the first episode or two, I don't know what to expect, but I'm super excited because it does look more like where Falcon and Winter Soldier is a lot more action packed. It looks like this is going to be, obviously
An
action
adventure.
packed, but weird and special. Yeah, for sure. So I'm really excited to see what they do with Loki. Did you know when it
June.
came out?
I think
or when it comes
early
out?
June, it's coming out. But
Good deal. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
really
and that's
excited for Loki.
another good thing to mention is like these three shows that they're doing right now. They're all like they're all very different from one another. With WandaVision, you had like more of a mystery, sitcom also in there, and then with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like a more regular, like crime or spy action thriller. And then it looks like with the Loki, you're getting this like wacky, interstellar adventure. So that they keep things varied, which is a big part of their success, I think.
Yeah, I really like how Marvel is starting to evolve from just doing all these movies to go into these series, kind of like WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it's really cool how they're starting to evolve their craft and starting to reach out to the streaming platforms. And I feel like that is a big, big bonus for Marvel, because that allows them to do so much with their characters in terms of character development. I, I personally have not seen the Loki trailer yet, but just from hearing it from you guys, that sounds exciting as hell.
Yeah.
Because I just like how Marvel's evolving. I like how they're moving along. And especially with Spider-Man too, like Spider-Man evolved in a great way. The character development was awesome. I feel like we're at peak Marvel right now, and it's exciting.
And I think we're also in peak TV. I think right now we're in like the golden era of television with like all, they're really like, I feel like TV is starting to become like, in terms, probably even more so, like I feel like it's become like the prime source of entertainment for people, especially with like COVID in the past year. Everyone's at home watching a bunch of different TV shows as opposed to movies. So I think we're in prime time for TV. But do you guys have anything? John, did you want to say anything else?
No, I was actually going to mention, I think it's kind of funny how people always thought that YouTube eventually would take over TV, but that didn't
YouTube
happen
TV?
at all. Like, well, YouTube has their television streaming service, but like people thought that like everyone would cut the cord on cable and stuff and just go toward, watching YouTube videos from independent creators, but we're still getting these big high production television shows, and they're really good. I mean, like we haven't gotten a bad television show, I feel like, that's been canceled after like one season in a minute.
It almost feels like there's too much to watch lately.
Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, there is too much.
Right. There's so
like
many options.
there's so many Netflix originals now, like it's crazy. But yeah, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, that's kind of, there's just so much going on. There's so much to watch. And a lot of it is good. But yeah, there is a lot. So moving on to the next kind of story, or that's been going on for the past week or two, was Lil Nas X. He released a new song, and with that, a new music video. Now, Parker, I know before we started recording, you told me you didn't watch it, so I'll gladly describe it. uh,
I think
Pretty
I've
much,
seen clips of it.
you've
Like
seen clips.
I've heard about the controversies.
Yeah, I mean, most of the video is just there's a lot of, I guess, biblical references throughout the music video, but specifically the whole thing that's drawing up a lot of controversy at the end of, which, by the way, just to preface, Lil Nas X is gay. He and the song is also very much about, a relationship with another man that he has. But the video, it ends with him going down to hell and twerking on Satan and like giving Satan a lap dance. And that specific end has drawn up a lot of controversy. So I just wanted to, I'll give my thoughts and then I'll pass it off onto you guys. First off, let me talk about the song. I think the song is actually a bop. I actually think the song's like super enjoyable and it's been stuck in my head throughout the past week or two.
The song is great.
Yeah. And then, and I think he was very, very intentional with this entire rollout. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think he knew the exact attention that he was going to get, and it's happening, and it's only doing favors for the song. But he knew, I think, when he was going to make this out there crazy video that a lot of people are going to have their panties in a bunch over it. And people were going to, get angry or be upset about certain things. And guess what? When people talk, it's only going to make stuff more popular. The same thing happened with WAP, last year. Like all these people were upset about it. It's like you guys just made the song more popular because you just have more people talking about it. And I think he knew he was going to get that sort of reaction with the video. I personally have no problem with the video or anything that's shown in the video. I think it's just him. I think he took advantage of people that were going to probably be upset by doing that. I don't think he's doing any Illuminati like worshiping in that video. I think he's just kind of goofing around trying to make a funny video, and I think he caught the exact attention that he was looking for. So he succeeded in what he set out to do. But what do you guys think, John? Maybe?
Yeah. So the song is definitely a bop. It's been stuck in my head too. It's so good. But I'm not the type to complain. And I'm not gonna knock anyone's take on art and anyone's artistry with their music videos and stuff. I just think the twerking on Satan thing was definitely like icky. Like it was just like I don't okay. Like it's fine. I'm not gonna knock him for it. I think it was definitely a great way to get people talking about the video, about the song, about Lil Nas X in general. And I think that it's really smart of him to do that, because I probably wouldn't have even listened to the song if I didn't want to check out the video because of all the controversy. That's actually the reason I listened to it originally. I probably would have got around to it like on the radio or whatever, but the controversy is what brought me here. And I really didn't understand the controversy until when Satan was on screen and then Lil Nas starts twerking on him or whatever. It was just icky.
What do you mean icky?
Like, I'm not going to watch the video again. Just I'm somewhat spiritual, so seeing any imagery of Satan, I'm just like, ugh, go away. But that's purely it for me. I'm not going to knock him for doing it or his sexuality at all. That's ridiculous if people are knocking that. I just don't like seeing imagery of Satan personally. That's it for me.
What about? And that's a fair. Yeah, that's a fair.
I thought it was hilarious, though.
But what about Parker? You haven't seen the video, but I'm sure you've heard about the controversy.
I've seen the Twitter video of him twerking on Satan actually. So I did not.
Really all you need to see.
I wasn't sure if that was Montero video, if that was another Lil Nas X video. But with the controversy that came out of it, people just needed to stop taking shit so seriously, dog. Like, it's just it's. I feel like people overreact.
Agreed.
Like, people just overreact and make a big deal.
And like with WAP,
yeah,
too.
man. Like
WAP is an empowering song, and I think this is the same thing. It's supposed to be empowering.
Like, I praise Lil Nas X for doing what he wants to do and not caring about it. Like, that's I feel like more people just need to not get so offended and just take the work for what it is and just enjoy it.
I think the main thing to take away from these kinds of songs, right, is like the people that are getting upset, right, step back for a second. Like, okay, so you're not okay with, like, okay, let's say if you're upset with Montero, right? What are you upset about it with? Are you like, and then you have to ask that question, right? And then you're like, okay, am I going to bring that same anger or that same rage, right? like towards anything else that does something similar? Like, am I going out protesting, you know, I don't know, like death metal music, like, or like, you know, with like WAP, a lot of people are like, oh, it's too sexual. Like, are you going to also put down a picket fence over, you know, like any other song that mentions sex? Like, kind of like, or are you just upset about it because it's coming from a woman's perspective? So
you got you got to keep everything, or you got to keep everybody in balance. Like, if you're going to complain about Satan in this one song, right? Like, and you're seeing Satan there, why aren't you complaining about how AC/DC sings about Highway to Hell? Or like, you know, all the old rock songs that white people jam, you know?
Right. Yeah, right. They're worse.
Yeah, so
they're worse.
I feel like there's this double standard that's held on some of these artists just because they're different or they did something different. Yeah. But I praise them for doing something different. Go you. Do what you want, and if people overreact and say that you're a piece of shit because of it, that's on them.
Honestly, just have the artistic freedom as long as you're obviously not doing something hateful or doing something that's hurting people.
If you're not hurting anybody with your artwork, then it's fine. You're just you can do what you want. Yeah, that's a great thing about this world in America, is that we can do what we want.
Yep. Well, does anyone have any more final thoughts on this? No one? No. All right.
I don't think
so. Let's keep it moving. Now, this one I thought was super interesting. So this is regarding rumors for Call of Duty 2021. And I don't know. I feel like I don't think we talked about this, but so basically, there's rumors that the Call of Duty that's coming out this year is going to be set during. What does that sound? Oh,
the chair.
Oh, okay.
The chair, dude. The chair.
Sounds like someone's like farting their ass off.
It's noisy. I know.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a different chair for next episode.
Okay. Here, let me just. Yeah.
It's so slow. I try to be nonchalant.
That made it worse.
I know, dude.
But okay, yeah. So Call of Duty 2021 rumors. It's rumored that it's supposed to be set in World War II. There's been two conflicting rumors from two different gaming sites. One was saying that it's going to be set in World War II, but it's an alternate history where World War II did not end in 1945. It ended later on, so it's like an extended World War II. But then there's another site that was like, we also have internal sources, and they're actually telling us it's just a regular World War II. It's not an alternate history World War II. So it'd just be regular history, ends in 1945. You know, I just want to ask what your guys' thoughts are on this. Me personally, I think it'd be more interesting to do alternate history because I feel like we've gotten thousands of regular World War II games. I feel like it'd be interesting if they did something, you know, kind of like Wolfenstein, where it's like this alternate history of World War II fighting Nazis. Like, what if you're fighting Nazis in the 50s or 60s? I think that would be more interesting. But but also I will say, I don't think it's the best idea for COD to go back to World War II, especially because people, I feel like, want more modern stuff right now. and it's pretty much confirmed that the new Battlefield that's going to come out this year is going to be modern day. And I feel like come this fall, if you have a Battlefield that's modern day and a COD that's World War II, I feel like people are actually going to go play Battlefield as long as they don't screw it up. So that's my thoughts on it. John, maybe do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting idea, but I think it's an interesting idea that Activision should have kept in their bag, just for a little bit, because I mean they made Call of Duty World War II, what, 3 years ago? They just visited World War II. So I don't think they need to go back to it just yet, but I do like the idea of like having an alternate version of World War II. Because I think World War II is one of, like, as horrible as the events that occurred were, it's one of the most interesting points in human history for me, or modern day human history. And it had such a big effect on the world. And I think it would be cool, if Call of Duty could tell a story of what happened if, Hitler didn't off himself, how long it would have gone, or if Japan didn't surrender. Stuff like that. It could be super cool. I just think it's something that they should hold on to a little bit more, because like you said, I mean, we've seen so many World War II games. I mean, they're a dime a dozen. You see one every year, it seems like.
So
what did you think, Parker?
I honestly just going back to World War II again. Are you running out of ideas, guys? Like, but I would much prefer them to do an alternate kind of history, because I feel like there's been so many shooter games that have come out that every war's been covered, man. Like we can change a little bit of the game to make it not so repetitive. So I feel like if what would be perfect in my opinion, I feel like they should do this for the next game, is maybe a World War II or World War I, but in the modern day, like with modern weapons, modern kill streaks, all that stuff, and just try to make like an alternate time path. That would be very interesting to me, because that would bring all the cool history back from the old wars, but that it would make the more fun modern weapons that you would use in newer COD or Battlefield games, just a new like tech you can use, but I feel like they've gone to the World War II well just far too often. They did it with Battlefield, they did it with COD multiple times, and there's definitely other shooters out there that have came out in the past few years that have tapped into World War II. So yeah, we can do something else, guys. Come on.
Yeah, and yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. Alternate history sounds more interesting, but do we even need to go back to World War II is the question. But yeah, so keeping it moving. So these next two things, which are the final stories, they're kind of a continuation of things that we talked about in episode 4. I just, Mario. So this first one, Mario is officially dead, killed, slaughtered,
gone.
And where we left the story off last time was we were thinking maybe Nintendo might announce something, or give some sort of follow up in the wake of this happening. It didn't happen.
Nope.
So I guess I don't know. I feel like just a really strange decision on Nintendo's part, but I am disappointed also they haven't said anything. But they did announce that they're going to be at E3, so I guess that's where we'll see a lot of new announcements, hopefully, because I genuinely having a hard time in casual passing, like being like, oh, I'm excited for this to come out on Switch, because I feel like there's nothing with an actual name. Like, I'm not like, the Breath of the Wild sequel doesn't even have a name. Okay, like something that's like tangible that's coming out soon. I feel like there's nothing right now on Switch. But John, what do you think? With everything I kind of just talked about, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was really funny, actually. I went to Target yesterday and I saw like 12 copies still of 3D All-Stars on the shelf. So the scalpers market hasn't, initiated yet for that. But I was really upset, honestly, when April 1st came and we didn't get really anything from Nintendo. Like we got the axe, Mario got hanged in the town square last week or
Executed.
a couple weeks ago now. Um and nothing else came about. Like, okay, like maybe you could give us, I don't know, an old Zelda remaster kind of collection or something. I don't know. It's Zelda's 35th anniversary this year too.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it? I think they came out, yeah. Like, do something else. But of course, Nintendo, I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. They don't really like making money, and they make pretty silly decisions business-wise, in our opinion. Um, but it's for me, I'm kind of like stuck with Nintendo where I don't know what to look forward to, and I'm not really super excited about what's to come from them because there doesn't seem to be much.
So, in my opinion, anytime Nintendo comes out with an announcement lately, or just has a release or talks about a game, it's been disappointing as all hell, man. Like every time that they have a game release, it just feels so disappointing because there's nothing good coming out lately. There's absolutely nothing of quality that intrigues me.
Is there anything, Parker, that would get you back on the Switch train? Like a release coming up or anything?
Yes, if they were to talk about Breath of the Wild 2, I would for sure be on the train, but guess what? No. Um like a new Mario Kart, something. Um
Oh,
Metroid
a new
Prime,
Mario Kart.
anything. Just give me anything that I can look forward to, and I will be excited to play the Switch. But Nintendo has absolutely provided me zero, zilch excitement for anything that they're coming out with. I'm just hoping there's a 180 flip and they go back to what made Nintendo so popular is these these sequels off of other games um, that just get you excited. But they're not coming out with anything of note. I don't know if this is to do with COVID or if it's more so to do with how Nintendo wants to shift their company. But I Nintendo needs to have like you said, Arsenal. They're going to be at E3. I have a 99.99% certainty that they're going to disappoint me, like they always do. But I'm just hoping for the best.
Yeah, and kind of continuing with like the whole optics look, because Nintendo I feel like has not had good optics post like Animal Crossing. But I also think PlayStation is starting to make some very strange missteps. And that's what this next part is about. So just as an update to also something we've talked about, that rumor did end up becoming a reality. PlayStation is going to start removing, or it's going to pretty much shut down the PlayStation 3 and the Vita stores in the summer. A lot of people are like, I think the general consensus is, wish you gave us a little bit more of a heads up, but also, okay, so there's going to be like, there's certain games that, are only on digital on the PlayStation 3 store. And it's like, okay, is there going to be a way to like retain the PlayStation 3's library? I know we kind of talked about this last week about whole game preservation and all that, but did you guys have any like final thoughts on this now that it's actually happening? John, I guess I'll start off with you because I know you and I were pretty big into the PS3 era.
Yeah, for me, it's just sad. I mean, pretty much every company besides Microsoft does this. I mean, I guess just Nintendo and Sony are the other two players, but um it's a little sad to me. Like personally, as as a consumer myself, I wasn't going to be going back to a lot of these PlayStation 3 games, and I definitely wasn't going to be purchasing old PlayStation 3 games on PS3 personally, but I think that just for I mean, we talked about it before, and a lot of people have talked about it. Just for game preservation, it's silly. It's silly that they're doing this, and it's so interesting to see the direction PlayStation is going when they've always had this no BS, we want to let you play your games as easily as possible attitude. They've always had that. They ran with that with the PS4, and that's why it was so successful in comparison to Xbox. And now it's almost like they've flipped, where now Xbox has this mantra of like, no BS. We want you to be able to play whatever games you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, um, at whatever price you can afford. And Sony's just like, yeah, we're gonna get rid of half of the games we've ever put out. They're gone, and you can never play them again unless you download them before this date. Like, really? It's a Nintendo ass move, and I think it's silly to do. I mean, I'm sure it takes resources and stuff to keep those things running, but I mean, you're a multi-billion dollar company, and the PlayStation 5 is obviously seeing so much success. So if anything, please, Sony, if you're listening, if someone is listening, like, figure out a way to get these classics on PlayStation 5. Even with, the limitations of the PS3 and how it was built architecturally, they're smart enough. Through emulation or something, give us the preservation and give us these old games, man. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna be playing them myself.
There's gonna be newcomers,
just
that maybe
for,
want to revisit
like,
that era.
yeah, right. I mean, like, I would love for my kids someday to
Yeah,
be able to play Little Big Planet, but at this point, if you don't have a physical PS3 that works, there's no way to do it. And if you don't have a copy before a certain date, you're gonna have to buy it,
it'd be like
off of
thousands of
eBay.
dollars.
And I don't like that. Right. I don't like that whole eBay, like, things are gone to time. You got to buy them for way more expensive than what they were originally. Like, this is entertainment. This is not baseball
Yeah.
cards. Like, dude, like, there doesn't need to be some artificial scarcity like Nintendo's creating. I really like the direction Xbox going with this generation. And I think that Nintendo and Sony really, really needs to start taking some notes and taking some
Yeah.
cues from that. But
So I just
what did you
Googled this,
think,
right?
Parker?
I looked this up just to see if it was available, right? So there's PS3 game emulators that are literally available for the PC. So
Yeah.
if some guy's doing that in his basement and he's able to port the game over to another platform like that, why can't Sony do it?
Yeah.
Like, it says
Exactly.
so the ESX emulator, so RPCS3 is a free and open source emulator for PS3. It was first introduced in 2017. Using this emulator, you can play any PS3 game on Windows PC. That's literally any game, and they basically use a decompiled kernel to bring these games over to PC, but it just doesn't have PSN support. That's the only thing it doesn't have. So I feel like this would be super easy for Sony, but they're just not wanting to do it for some reason. I feel like there's something other than like the hardware that the PS3 ran on.
Yeah, and like kind of like putting a wrap on the story, like there's been talks from also some corners that Sony is planning a counterpunch to Game Pass, and that there's been, we talked about this last time, but there's patents that leaked that they're planning some sort of emulation. But I feel like the best way, if they do actually have this stuff planned, is like you got to announce these side by side. Don't announce the bad news and then leave us hanging for months on end, and then announce your plans to fix it. Like, if you're going to take something away from us, be ready to tell us what you're going to do to substitute what you're taking away. So right now, it's definitely not a good look, regardless of what actually ends up happening. And then keeping on the topic of not good looks for PlayStation, MLB The Show is about to come out, and this has been historically a PlayStation franchise. It's interesting to think about it, that it's that baseball as a sport for video games is exclusive to PlayStation, has been exclusive to PlayStation, but it's been developed by a PlayStation studio. But now this year is the first time it's actually coming to Xbox and PC. And this is the weirdest thing. Also, I want to apologize. I think there's some people outside my window, and I don't know if you guys have been hearing that, but apologize if you guys
just
hear
barely.
any of that. Anyways, this game is gonna be coming out. Let me see the release date real quick. MLB The Show 21. Okay, so this game is coming out. I don't see a release date. Hold up, sorry. Release date is April 20. Okay, 4/20. It's coming out on April. Yeah, it's coming out on April 20th. And on that day, you can either pay $70 or $60 to get it on PlayStation, or you can have an Xbox and get it on Game Pass day one for at max $15. Like, how does this happen? How does a PlayStation Studios game end up on Game Pass for $15? But on the console that the studio is affiliated with, it costs $60 or $70. Why not put it on PlayStation now? Like, I don't know. When I read this, I was like baffled. So I don't know about you guys, but what did you guys think about this whole thing?
I was baffled by it. I mean, it's crazy that Sony would,
sell. Yeah, that they sold this
obviously,
game essentially.
probably, sell for money for the gain, like a financial gain. They sold away, from what it seems like, one of their more successful games on PlayStation, and the fact that it's going to be more expensive on the console that it was created on. What? Like, dude, the fact that Sony didn't have like an immediate like they turn off the PlayStation Store for PS3 and stuff, and now MLB is on Game Pass. You would think that Sony would be super smart, and on the same day that these announcements are coming out, like you said, Ursel, maybe they'd be like, PlayStation Now, we're expanding the offerings of it, and it's going to be, this much money for this amount of games, and MLB is going to be on it. Nope. You're going to have to buy that game for $60, $70 if you want to play it on the system that, if there's any people out there that are, hot on MLB, they probably bought a PS5.
Yeah.
So that they could play the new one. There's probably some poor sap out there that did that. And now they find out, I could have gotten an Xbox and not had to pay for it. And now every MLB going forward, I'm not going to have to pay for on Xbox. Like, because everyone has Game Pass anyway. If you have an Xbox, you'd be silly not to. Because it's an amazing offer. It's just, ugh. I don't really have a lot to say on it other than, like, why? What was the idea? There's got to be some strategy
and it's so weird because now
this
is the second situation this year where there's this like cross pollination where with Deathloop, that's an Xbox that's an Xbox funded game that's gonna be a PlayStation exclusive, and now that we have MLB The Show that's gonna be multi-plat, but it's a PlayStation made game that's gonna be on Xbox Game Pass, which is like, what timeline are we in? Like, what in the hell is going on here? But Parker, what do you think about all this MLB The Show's business?
So I personally don't play this game, so I really don't care too much, to be honest with you. But like, I still think it's a little shocking that Sony kind of let that happen right under their nose. Like, you'd think they would try to prevent it from even going on Game Pass, but at least have a rebuttals. But yeah, that's the most shocking thing to me. But I don't care about this game enough to really be upset about it.
Yeah, but this all kind of playing into the same narrative, and this was a big topic of discussion on Friday when the story broke. And continuing on the shitting on PlayStation train for this episode, what is it? There's kind of a big expose article that came out on Friday, and this came out from Jason Schreier. And this guy, if you guys don't know, he's like the dude. Like he's literally like known as the guy who does exposés on like everyone. Like he's done it for like you name a big game, he's probably done an expose on it. He's done it on Rockstar games, Naughty Dog games, like Nintendo games, like everything, right? He did one on Sony's just general development / production situation that's been going on. And there's been kind of like I'll just go ahead and summarize it and give the general takeaways. But PlayStation wants to supposedly, these are, take everything, with a grain of salt at the end of the day, because you don't know how much of this is all true. But supposedly Sony wants to put a bigger emphasis on their big heavy hitter games, and they're not focusing as much on some of the more smaller titles. From there, specifically, like there's a studio called Sony Bend. They made Days Gone a few years back. The game, when it first came out, didn't receive great reception, but has kind of turned into a cult classic as years have gone by. Up until now, it has a lot more positive viewing, and they essentially, I guess, didn't allow them to make a Days Gone 2. I don't really care about that news, but also the biggest kind of question mark news that came out of all this was supposedly there's a Last of Us Part 1 remake that is being made. So I don't know. All of the stuff is just the focus on bigger releases. I can kind of get that because, that kind of makes sense, like because that's where they found a lot of success. But also, like, it's nice that, in the past, like Sony has had smaller games like Little Big Planet and things like that, where they help, balance out some of the bigger releases like Uncharted or God of War. The Days Gone 2 being canceled, that's whatever, to me, honestly. But the whole Last of Us remake thing, like, I don't know who greenlit that at Sony. Like, I don't know. I think that's a complete waste of resources and manpower. Like, they could be using all the people that are working on that project and either helping towards whatever the next new franchise Naughty Dog is making or any other thing at PlayStation Studios. Like, I don't know who in their right mind thinks that it's time to remake The Last of Us Part 1. Yeah, and in theory, it would be cool to have Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2 like on the same engine, and like they both like look and run the same, so it's like one big experience. But like, dude, there's so many better games to remake. Like, hell, I would want them to remake like Infamous 1 or 2 or something like that, like before. Yeah, like I would want that ahead of like something like Last of Us. And Last of Us is one of my favorite games ever, potentially my favorite game ever. And I don't even think there's a remake that is necessary. I don't think anyone's asked for this. But I know I mentioned a lot, but John, what do you think about all this?
So I'm going to focus most on the Last of Us remake. I think that it's definitely not the right time. I mean, maybe they're doing it to kind of hype up the release of the show a little bit more too, but like they put it out on PS3. They made a remaster literally like the next year. And then they're already going to remake it. Like, yeah, I mean, it'd be really cool to see, a Last of Us collection on PS5 that's on the Last of Us 2 engine, running on PS5 graphics, super, like, looking good, and it's super optimized and everything. That would be fantastic, but, I mean, obviously, PlayStation and Sony doesn't have, their eggs, I feel like, in the right baskets right now, so I think that, like you said, the resources they have could be used for something a lot more useful. Like maybe expand the offerings of PlayStation Now and make that a competitor to GamePass, rather than remaking a game that I would say anyone that cares about The Last of Us has probably played a couple of times already. And maybe I'd play it again, but I don't know. And John, if I want to
I know, like you and me are in this boat. Like we both played The Last of Us Part 1. We replayed it right before 2 came out, and the game, and like if you play that game on PS5 now, that game, like with the PS5 enhancement, that game already runs at 4K 60 FPS. Like that's even the more baffling thing. And I think, yeah, the game is 8 years old, and it obviously doesn't play as well as like newer games or Last of Us Part Two, but the game still holds up well. I don't know about you, John, but I thought the game still held up pretty well for being made in 2013. Yeah, it's an older game, but yeah, I didn't.
I thought so too. I thought it was comparable to almost anything else that comes out today, just because Naughty Dog's
Yeah,
that
like
good
I
at
was
their
not. I was
craft.
never sitting there thinking like, yeah, like this could use a remake. But yeah,
A
but
total remake.
honestly, like Parker, I'll let you go ahead. Yeah, do you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, for the first Last of Us game, I thought when I was playing it, it was just so ahead of its time. I don't understand a remake at this stage in history, but maybe like when the PlayStation 6 comes out or something, that would be something to think about. But as of right now, the game still holds up. 4K 60 FPS is 4K 60 FPS no matter what. I don't understand the point of a remake at this point in time. Um, I feel like Sony will wait on that anyway. Like there's no rush for it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I do share your guys' concerns about like PlayStation Now compared to Game Pass. Like if Sony doesn't start ramping up PlayStation Now like right now, like Game Pass is always going to be ahead, and they're always going to have more selection on there. So
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, I just think that Sony's
Yeah,
got their
just
like
start
priorities
now,
not straight.
because that's going to be a problem for you in the future. And address it so it doesn't become a problem. It's these services where you pay a monthly subscription for games is becoming so much more popular. Like with EA Play, Game Pass, like Epic Games even has some subscription services. So I just don't get why PlayStation isn't on like completely on the bandwagon yet, because it's really beneficial for a lot of gamers to have that availability.
Yeah, and I guess I'll give my final thoughts, and then you guys could say something if you want. Look, okay, so so it was pretty clear that this last generation, PlayStation absolutely just destroyed, like just completely dominated the competition. So they're coming in very similarly to from PS2 to PS3. They completely dominated. I don't think how bad PS3 started out, how bad Xbox One started out. I don't think any of these mistakes or missteps are anywhere near those levels of screw ups, because and you can see it right now. Like the PS5 is outselling Series X. Like going back to the start of those generations, the 360 was beating PS3, PS4 was beating Xbox One, because that's how bad Sony and Microsoft messed up back then. So I don't think they're messing up to that level where they're going to start falling behind necessarily yet. I'm going to say yet. But I think you guys, like, you need to start focusing on backwards compatibility, because the fact that Xbox, you can play all the way up to the OG Xbox, you can play any of the games, that's a selling point, for people. The fact that Xbox is starting to build this insane catalog of developers that they're purchasing, and they're going to have this huge variety in a few years. You need to respond to that, PlayStation. And you also shouldn't forget, that smaller games have also carried your brand. Journey, Little Big Planet, Heavy Rain, like smaller Crash Bandicoot. Like, God, there's so many smaller games that also match up to your big releases that you need to foster. And look, nothing bad has happened yet, but there's starting to be some bad habits, I feel like, being set in place, where if Sony is complacent and just sits around and doesn't do anything, the huge gap that there is between PlayStation and Xbox, it's closing by the day. And, that gap is going to start getting smaller and smaller, and we might see ourselves back in a, PS3 360 era conflict where, it's a lot more of an even battle as opposed to just PlayStation kicking Xbox's ass. But that's my final thought on it. John, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, not too much, but I agree with what you're saying, Ursula, where I think it's not a huge issue yet. But I mean, if Sony doesn't start doing something now, we saw how quickly Xbox fell behind with the Xbox One. I mean, obviously it was a little bit different because they kind of screwed
Yeah,
themselves during the announcement for it, and Sony's already got a leg up on sales, but that could easily slow down. Easily. And especially if there's not a whole lot of games that are just on PS5. And if it's, $70 a game and that's your only option, I think that, Christmases down the line, once parents are buying their kids new consoles, they're going to choose the Xbox, even if their kid asks for a PlayStation, because it's
yeah.
cheaper. That does happen.
Anyways, yeah,
So,
Parker.
what about you,
Yes, I
Parker?
did.
Did you have any
So
final
I'm
thoughts on
actually
that?
glad that Microsoft's starting to ramp up and put pressure on Sony, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to
Competition.
benefit gamers. Because the competition is going to make a better product, and
Exactly.
it's going to force these companies to come out with their best, and that's all. And that's going to benefit so many gamers. At the end of the day, we're going to get some great products throughout these next few years. So just join the ride, and I hope it stays competitive. Like, I don't want one company dominating the gaming industry, because at the end of the day, that's going to lead them to being complacent and making products that might not be forward thinking as they could be.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, I agree 100% with what you said, Parker.
That's a
Like, I
good
share
point.
that exact same sentiment. But yeah, that's our current events for this week. Now we'll go ahead and jump into the main topic, guys, which is Godzilla versus Kong. So with episode 5, we're continuing a tradition of talking about seminal movies. We talked about Blade Runner for its influence and how important of a film it is, and now we're talking about an equally important film, Godzilla versus Kong. But no, all jokes aside, we this is the main topic of the week, and we also saw it this week. It's part of a new cinematic universe. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's part of the quote unquote monster verse. Um, it is the fourth movie. So the first one was Godzilla 2014. The second one was Kong Skull Island, and then the third one was Godzilla King of the Monsters. There's also been countless Godzilla movies, countless Kong movies. I just want to throw out there that I really, really, really love the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong film. I'm a big fan.
Yes,
Yeah,
I grew up watching
Is that
that
the one
one.
with Jack Black?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's the one I
yeah.
grew up
Oh, that
watching.
one's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I just want to say I really enjoyed that movie. Love that film. I out of the MonsterVerse films, quote unquote, I've only seen the Godzilla 2014. So so that's kind of and I've also seen I've seen various Godzilla movies. I've seen the 1990s Godzilla film with Matthew Broderick.
Ferris
I remember,
Bueller.
yeah, Ferris Bueller. When I saw that movie when I was a kid, I thought it was really good, but I guess that movie actually really sucks. From what people have said.
Yeah, I watched that movie like on DVD, like when I was really
Yeah,
young.
dude, I rented it. I rented it from the DVD store or the
Yeah,
So many
DVD
throwbacks we're
store,
bringing
but
up today.
yeah,
Blockbuster.
but I just want to ask you guys: have you guys seen first starting off? Have you guys seen any of the previous movies before this one? Not just, I guess. Have you seen any of the quote unquote MonsterVerse films? And what are your experience with Godzilla or Kong coming into this film? John, how about you start off?
So, I had seen the Godzilla from 2005. I do really like that one as well. I have a lot of fond memories watching that. I feel like I don't remember it like too well, but I know I watched it quite a few times. Um, I did have kind of a Godzilla kick, back in, I can't remember exactly, maybe like third grade. But we rented a bunch of movies, and I would rent like a new Godzilla movie, like the old ones, each time we went for a couple few visits. I don't really remember watching them, but I actually haven't seen any of the MonsterVerse films until this one, Godzilla versus Kong. What about you, Parker?
So basically, my history with Godzilla and Kong. So the first one of these movies I watched was the Godzilla, like with Matthew Broderick, because my family had that on DVD, so I would just put that in all the time. I also watched the 2005 King Kong with Jack Black. What I remember mainly from that movie was just the surreal environments that it would put you in, and like how it was 3 hours long. It was such a long movie. But also I think I watched a 2014 Godzilla. I'm not quite sure. I remember watching a Godzilla movie like 5 years ago or something. So that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I haven't really seen any of those other MonsterVerse movies. But I do have a very fond history growing up watching both of these characters develop.
Yeah. And just quick shout out your answer. Coming into this movie, who did you think was gonna win? I'm gonna say Kong. I thought Kong.
I thought Godzilla for sure because of the fire breathing shit. Like.
Yeah,
and I just want to say the only reason I thought Kong was going to win was because in the trailers, it seemed like they were painting him to be like the main character, and like going off of Batman versus Superman that I saw a few years back, you're kind of rooting for the underdog kind of situation, and in that one, Batman kicked Superman's ass. So I thought they're going to give it to Kong, but I think if you look at it practically, yeah, I think Godzilla is the practical choice. But going into let's everyone just give their very high overview thoughts of the film. I'm just gonna say I'll start off. I thought this movie was fine. I thought this movie probably works better as like a Godzilla movie than a King Kong movie, because I feel like when I think of King Kong, I think of it more of like a somber like drama that like the 2005 Peter Jackson one was, where it's like almost kind of more of a love story between like the woman and like Kong, and it's also like kind of an allegory for slavery if you actually look at it. Like, I mean, there's that infamous scene from Inglourious Basterds that mentions that. But yeah, I thought it worked better as a Godzilla movie than a Kong movie, which is funny because I thought Kong was very clearly the main character. I thought it was okay. I'll kind of delve into more about ratings and stuff like that at the end. But what about you, John?
So, I thought in general, like, that the movie was kind of boring, to be honest. I thought that, like, I'm gonna give, a lot more detailed thoughts on this coming up, but the characters just felt so bland, and obviously that's not really what the movie's for, but like it was there, and yeah, I just thought that was kind of boring. It was definitely action packed. I thought the CGI was pretty fantastic. But yeah, without diving too much into it, those are my general kind of thoughts. I thought it was kind of boring for me. What did you think, Parker?
So I was disappointed personally. I really enjoyed the CGI. The visual effects were amazing. I actually bought a new TV yesterday for my room, and that's what I watched this movie on, my 4K TV. But honestly, the story was just so damn bland, in my opinion. Like, I felt like there was just the acting was pretty horrific at certain points of the movie where it just felt just something like a lot of the lines felt forced. People were talking over each other. Like, I just felt like they could have thought a lot more into the story and made it more enjoyable to listen to and follow. But overall, I think the action scenes are great. The CGI is great. Just the characters and the plot and how they developed the characters just was overall very rough, in my opinion.
All right. Well, let me just go ahead and get into why these two are fighting in the first place. So what I got from it, honestly, was it's and they actually say this, Millie Bobby Brown's character says this. Godzilla's reason for being an ass and attacking Apex Cybernetics is because he's worried he's being replaced by a mechanical version of himself. Like, what? What, dude? Are you kidding me? Like, the character says this. This is the reason. She says it so seriously. She's like, Godzilla's just sad, guys. Like what? What? Dude, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sure Godzilla has feelings to a certain extent, but really? Is this it? Like, I know they want these monsters to feel like somewhat human, but I had to laugh at this one. Like, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Are there any other motives, really? Because that is absolutely the only thing that I got for why these two are fighting, and Kong is just like protecting them because he's the only other thing that can match up to Godzilla's power.
This whole movie is kind of, when you have to look at the details, it's funny how kind of confusing this movie is. Like, for what this movie should be. Like, because you have that first. You have to explain why Godzilla is wilding the fuck out, you know, and it's because of that weird reason. Which is I agree with you, John. Super kind of like, what? Like, okay, I guess I'll go with that logic. And then, but then you have to explain why they're fighting each other, and then the explanation behind that is that there can only be like one alpha. There can only be one alpha titan, which is like, okay, like and then like, which is like fine, I guess that makes sense. But I don't know. I was kind of confused because I feel like it was just they didn't explain it well, because there's like these two different motivations for Godzilla. Like, okay, you have to explain why he's destroying cities, but then you have to also explain why he's fighting Kong. And I thought both of these explanations were kind of just like very hand wavy to get us to a certain point in the plot. Then like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense, really. But yeah, Parker, what did you think about why these two are even fighting?
To be honest, I was really confused while I was watching it, trying to figure this out myself. Like, what is the point of Godzilla destroying this place in Pensacola? Like, what? I just don't.
It's because he didn't want to be replaced, bro.
Dude, that's just so whack. Like I said earlier, man, a lot of how they develop the plot and how they explain things just seemed off, and they just seemed like they were put together in such quick order. Like, oh, we just have to give some reason for them to fight. We just have to make them angry for some reason. It didn't seem like they took their time into really developing a plot or motive that would be realistic. I just felt like this movie was just very haphazardly put together, and then they put the best technological visual effects in it. That's mainly what disappointed me the most, to be honest, is how they get, like, what motives they gave for the characters and like how they developed the plot. But I will move this over to John again.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the significance of the little girl that could talk to Kong. So first off, there were like 100 shots of her, and every shot in the film was the exact same. It was just a shot of her crying, exact same angle every time. Didn't really get it. But apparently, I believe that she had like a connection with Kong in the previous King Kong film. And like there's some sort of connection where I guess King Kong essentially,
I don't think she's in the previous film.
He has a motive. Oh,
yeah,
really?
I think she's a new. I think she's a new character, actually.
Well, then that's even more confusing, because I don't really get like why she, like, obviously she's there because it gives King Kong like a little bit of humanness because he's like trying to protect her.
Yeah.
But like besides that, I didn't really understand their connection. I guess they can communicate in some
Sign
way.
language.
I don't really know. Oh yeah, okay. Gotcha. That's right. I forgot about that. See, for me it was just man, I think this was a pretty forgettable movie. I completely forgot about it. Like, dude,
Dude, I'm in the
what?
same boat. Like, so many of these
Was there
scenes are
like
just so bad
I
and bland.
remember that
A lot of the
now.
scenes in this movie were so bland that you just don't remember the details of everything because, like, it was just so
They don't make
forgettable.
you
Yeah, like,
care.
Yeah.
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 Right, they don't make you care about those scenes. So like I totally forgot about the sign language thing
Yeah.
because I was just focused in on, the battle scenes and shit. But what did you think about the little girl, Ursel?
I think just kind of going off what you said, like, I think it was supposed to add more human touch to Kong. I mean, it's just another way of making Kong the main character because I think he's definitely the main character out of it between him and Godzilla. But what about you, Parker?
Yeah.
So the little girl that could talk to Kong, uh, I thought this was pretty significant to the plot because they were able to make like Kong go to different
Do stuff.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
able to direct Kong. They kind of needed that role for the movie, but the way they introduced the character made no sense at all. Like I feel like they just threw this character in just so they could add to the plot for the battle. Like that's what it seems like a lot of this movie is they just have weird motives behind things and they don't explain why this character came into fruition. But it was important to the plot of the movie and they needed that role. It's just they didn't explain the role well enough going in. Um,
I agree.
but I'll,
I
I'll
agree.
hand it
But
off to you, John.
yeah, I was gonna actually get into the first fight. So, I guess they have two, maybe three rounds of fighting throughout the film. Um, the first one, they are basically fighting on like aircraft carriers in the middle of the ocean or like ships. Um, and let me think. So, okay, so like Kong is chained up when it first starts. Um, and I guess I'm pretty sure he's like sedated, right? Or drugged a little bit in that scene.
Yeah. Yeah. At the start of it.
Yeah, so Godzilla like comes up out of the ocean and starts messing stuff up. Um, and Kong actually he puts up a surprisingly pretty good fight considering because he's in like I mean it's the ocean and Godzilla can swim and Kong I mean maybe he can, not really, but you don't really know. I mean, it didn't really like did it show him swimming? I don't remember. I think he just like gets tackled into the
That was
water
that
and gets drug
that first
under.
fight was like that made me immediately realize like, oh yeah, like Kong is definitely the underdog in this. Like the dude.
Yeah, he got his butt kicked, dude.
Like and yeah, and then I mean I feel like that kind of just goes into like where this movie takes a detour from there. It's like, oh, okay, they've set up that Kong is clearly the underdog, gets his ass handed to him. So then the like entire middle section of the film is like a side quest to get a weapon, you know. But Parker, what did you think
Right.
about the first fight?
So, how much does the first fight really matter when Kong was really at a disadvantage that whole time, not being a water creature?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, does that first fight really, is that indicative of anything? Because I don't think so. I feel like if
Yeah.
they were both in the city on land, like both these characters thrive in, it would be more of an even fight. But since Kong was literally chained up and locked up to a boat, there's no way he's going to win that fight. So I think that first battle is a little more insignificant, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Parker, did you want to talk about? I know you were interested about like Khan being able to speak.
Yeah, so this only happened in one part of the movie. So like while he was on the boat, chained up, the little girl went out there to talk to him, and he said home audibly, like really loud, and he literally spoke.
Wait, he spoke? I thought he
Yeah,
just signed.
no, he actually said home, like audibly.
Really? Oh,
Yes,
wow.
but that's like the only word he seems to know. Um, but um, yeah, they were talking like in the pilot's room how holy shit, this monkey can speak. Like it's just absolutely insane how this development can happen. I wonder if they're going to take that to another level with the next Kong movie, like if he can say more than just home. But I feel like that's something that, especially if Kong can learn how to say something like that, what's stopping him from being able to learn the full language? Because he's like an evolutionary creature that is like unstoppable. Like he's the lord of all creatures, and I feel
The
like
next the next King Kong movie, Kong is just gonna be dropping an extreme amount of obscenities. Just,
he literally makes a mixtape. But
yeah.
but yeah,
He just goes.
I think that's definitely significant to the development of like these big creatures. Like they're definitely like they've got the brains to learn a language. It's just will they use it to their advantage?
Yeah. Um, and then I guess going from there, we can kind of talk about what we've been kind of just roasting in general is the human part of this movie.
Yep.
John, did you want to start off with that?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there's the little girl that's just always crying. There's 100 shots of her, the exact same angle
She
every
literally
time.
making the same face
Um,
too.
yeah, dude. I'm like, did they just reuse the same
Yeah,
shot?
it seems like it.
It's her
Um,
crying,
literally,
looking up
yeah.
at Kong.
Um, yeah, I think so. But I felt like it was honestly like there just wasn't really any character development. I didn't care about the characters
They gave you
at
no
Fair.
all.
care.
I don't know
Yeah.
about
And the
yeah.
characters are like kind of annoying too.
Um yeah, like who is Millie Bobby Brown's character? Like she had like 3 lines in the entire film and they were dumb. Oh, Godzilla feels bad. Like her character's just so bland to me. It seems like they just wanted to get Millie Bobby in the film just for the sake of like having someone recognizable. Um, like,
And she's Kyle
like she
Chandler.
was in one of the previous
Yeah.
films,
Yeah.
right?
But she's
Okay.
Kyle Chandler's daughter,
Um,
and Kyle Chandler doesn't do anything in the movie.
He literally has 2
right.
lines,
I was
dude.
gonna say I didn't understand the importance of her, or
Yeah.
him, and like there was barely any lines from human characters in the film.
And
There
then
wasn't a lot of
there's like I don't know what the movie's message was in this aspect, but like with the like conspiracy theorist podcaster who's talking about like don't drink water, there's like fluoride to control you, and like some Alex Jones shit. Like literally
Yeah.
that character was Alex Jones. And he was like I don't even know what was going on. Like what was the point? Like I guess yeah, that whole plot was to find Mecha Godzilla, but like like it was, yeah.
I guess. Yeah, like they were trying to stop Apex from killing Godzilla, but we don't really know why that is other than Godzilla is like a popular pop culture character. Like we're not really given a reason to care that much about him. Are we? Like why do we want to keep Godzilla from getting killed?
I,
Like that's essentially what they're doing because the oh no. I don't understand, dude. Like there's I don't get it.
I don't, dude.
Get it.
Dude, literally, they have just too many like human characters. Like they have probably 20 different human.
They have a
Yeah, and
bunch,
they literally
yeah.
each have such a
Nothing.
minimal role in the movie that you're given no reason to give a shit about what they say.
You have
or
like
do.
there's like 12 human characters that have like the importance of like 3.
Yeah,
Like
Exactly.
built like they all do like one thing or 2 things. Like do we really need like 10 like and that's the other thing. Like this movie is Godzilla versus Kong, and there's probably only like 30 to 40 minutes of that in a 2-hour movie. and the other hour and a half is just human bullshit.
Yes, that's
Just
exactly
human
what I was.
bullshit.
Oh my god, that was my main problem with this movie is that the fights it took so long to just get to the good stuff. Like it, you
And
know.
this is the one thing like it kind of annoys me. It's like people are like, well, you know, like, well, you know, the human. No one cares about the humans. What do you expect? Well, you know what? Like, literally, look at the previous movies for one of these characters. Look at like King Kong from 2005. That movie is about the characters. It's not about like that movie is a drama, like for the most part. Like they don't even get to the island in that movie until an hour in. You know what I mean? Like that movie has interesting human characters. So like just because there's a monster in the movie doesn't mean that the characters can't be interesting. So it's just like I feel like it's a cop out whenever the human characters are allowed to just be shitty, you know, and they can get away with that. So I don't know, like I don't know if you guys wanted to add on to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just go
the
ahead, Parker.
human, like I felt like if they just stuck to 3 or 4 main characters and focused on their story, like this movie would be so much better. Like they would be able to develop the plot a lot better. They would be able to make the characters more interesting and like interesting to follow. Like I felt like they tried to make this movie more about the fight between Godzilla vs Kong and not enough about the stuff around it. That's most of the movie that you're watching the whole time. And that amount of time that you're spending just watching this unimportant bullshit, you know, like it just left a sour taste in my mouth.
What about you, John? Yeah.
I agree. No, I agree with that. I mean, it's just yeah, you're sitting on the edge of your seat as the audience waiting and waiting for Godzilla and Kong to come out because you don't give a damn about what they're talking about. Like, shut up and get to the good stuff. That's what this movie
It felt like
to
the
me.
human characters also talked really fast and they talk over each other. So there's just so much they were trying to fit like with their conversations
They're trying to
in
be
such a
like
short time.
they're trying to be like MCU with the comedy and stuff, which just didn't work. I feel like.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. They definitely fell flat.
But what did you
For
guys
me,
think of
anyway.
like the whole side quest that like takes up half the movie of like them trying to go to quote unquote Hollow Earth, and there's like this Earth underneath. It's like Journey to the Center of the Earth. They just made a remake of that in the middle of this film.
Dude, I felt it looked like a horrible. It looked like a
Forgettable.
horrible acid trip, is what it looked like to me. Like it's not. Yeah.
Forgettable as hell.
And I was
dude.
like, what the hell is going? Like, okay, this was like it just gets so weird. Like, okay, so they fall in. So first of all, just remember what King Kong as a story was before this. This was about like a like 20-foot, like not 20-foot, like this was like King Kong was like 40 or 50 feet. By the way, remember this. In this movie, he's like 500 feet, but like in the older movies, he's not even that big. It's almost a love story between King Kong and like this woman that's on the island. You know, it's an allegory for like the African American struggle. Like it's all this stuff. Like, and then in this movie, it's like King Kong is flying down to the middle of the earth, and like there's all these like birds, and like dude has like a rechargeable axe that he like.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? Like this is insane. Like they're going like balls to the walls with King Kong here. Like, and then like he walks into this huge like room with this axe and he has a throne in the middle of the earth, and then Godzilla walks over and blows a hole into the earth and he blows it all the way into the middle, and then he goes through the hole and flies down but flies up at the same time and comes out into Hong Kong through the middle of the earth of the hole that Godzilla just blew.
Yeah.
And he's coming back up with a rechargeable axe from the middle of the earth.
Like literally ridiculous.
Dude, they tried
What
to mix
was that?
Interstellar with like MCU. I just don't get. I did not just follow that plot at all because it just made no sense.
I didn't either. I was just like, all right, when is Godzilla going to be on the screen again so I can see
So
some
Exactly.
I don't know.
action?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I guess, and then that goes right into the second and third fight, where obviously Kong has this weapon, so he has to win at least one battle with it. But even that, at the end of the day, that entire battle sequence, there's essentially two battles that happen in that, and Kong still loses at the end of them, which is so, like they just did my boy Kong dirty in this movie. But what did you guys think of the second and third fights before Mechagodzilla? I thought the fight with Kong, like I thought these were probably the best fights in the movie. Kong's kind of like dodging through buildings and shit, and like he's slapping Godzilla around with that axe, and I thought these were the best fights of the movie. But I don't think that's saying too much. What did you guys think?
So, in my opinion, I felt like these fights would have been a lot better. Like, I honestly just wish they took the Mechagodzilla out of the movie. There's no fucking point for this thing. I just felt like it introduced an unfair battle. Like, it just wasn't anything like fun to watch. Like with the Mechagodzilla, it was just more ridiculous horse crap that they were throwing at you.
I thought the fight was super short. Also, by the way, between all three of them, I thought that fight ended in like what, 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was way too short. But I just felt like they could have done more of just a pure battle between Godzilla and Kong. That's what they're advertising with this movie. And when it's taken away by this Mechagodzilla that just has the reins over everybody and more abilities than either of these characters, Mechagodzilla ends up getting wrecked, but still, like the abilities that it had just were so ridiculous, so lame. And I felt like I just wanted more of a pure battle between Kong and Godzilla. I just wanted to see who would be the definitive winner of those two. Kong had some punches in there, man. Like he got into Godzilla's face pretty good at the start of that second battle, but Godzilla ended up throwing him around for the last half that battle. Really, you're right. They did Kong dirty.
Yeah, I felt like look, I just want to see Godzilla and Kong fight, and God damn it, there's so much bullshit surrounding that. But yeah, like, what did you think, John, about like kind of the whole Hollow Earth stuff, the second and third fights, and Mechagodzilla?
So yeah, the Hollow Earth stuff to me was just ridiculous. I didn't think that, like, it was like a ridiculous side quest that I felt like didn't need to be there. Didn't really add a whole lot other than showing us that Kong is too weak.
You know what that scene reminded me of? That Hollow Earth stuff?
Really?
It reminded me of Michael Jordan going through the golf hole in Space Jam. Like, it was that ridiculously stupid that I just laughed.
Yeah, it reminded me of...
Yeah, and then, like...
I was just saying, yeah, it reminded me of, like, Journey to the Center of the Earth or something. But go ahead, John.
Right. But, like, it was just... And the whole Mechagodzilla thing, I agree with you, Parker. It's just, like, throwing more pointless crap our way. And, like, the whole, we have to team up really fast to beat this worst guy. Like, that's so overdone. And
I knew that was going to happen, too, because that's exactly what happened in Batman vs. Superman. They fight, oh, no, we gotta stop fighting each other. Yeah, team up because there's and let's become best friends real quick all of a sudden because there's a bigger enemy.
Dude, it's because they can't kill off their characters, so they have to do some BS where they make them team up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like did anyone, like, I definitely knew they were going to end this movie killing off either one of them.
Right. And, like, the whole Mechagodzilla thing was so short, too. It was like, okay, so apparently that was the point of why Godzilla was, like, attacking the Apex in the first place. Okay. And then the fight between them and Mechagodzilla or whatever is, like, a minute. It's like, it's just like, okay. Yeah. It just felt so silly to me. And, you know, when Kong and Godzilla were actually fighting, it was pretty damn epic. I gotta give, you know, the directors and stuff props for the CGI. I think it's some of the best CGI.
This is the best looking movie I've seen.
But, like,
it is actually top 5 in terms of, like, best looking movies.
Like, do you mean visual effects or, like, cinematography?
Visual effects.
I'm saying effects. I was gonna say visual effects as well. They're insane. But Besides, yeah, but I mean, I enjoyed the second and third fight a lot. I thought that the Mecha Godzilla thing was stupid. Um, and yeah, they did Kong dirty a little bit, I felt like, but I think that we all know that, you know, Godzilla would probably come out on top no matter what. He's so powerful. He's got literally everything Kong's got besides maybe the mobility, but he has the like lightning, fire, blue breath. I guess it's fire, but I thought it was good. I mean, I don't really have too many complaints with the actual fighting portions of it. But
what about I know you want to talk about the length of the movie, John.
Yeah, so I feel like we've kind of touched on it. I don't even think that any of us would think the movie's too short, necessarily. I just think that the way they went about it was atrocious. I mean, like we said, there were so many characters you couldn't keep track of them.
I couldn't remember
hardly.
any of their
I mean,
names.
maybe I'm just
Like you
I
didn't
don't
know
know
who
any of
any.
their
like
names.
Yeah, you don't know who they are.
And originally, when I first was thinking about this, I was like, yeah, the movie needs to be longer for more character development. No, no, it doesn't. I think they just need like like 2 or 3 characters.
I think they just had
Honestly,
to
there doesn't need
they
to
just
be
got to
much more than that.
reprioritize the time that they had.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And maybe a little bit more actual battling. Maybe if Mechagodzilla was the reason that the movie even happened, then maybe bring him out a little bit more. I don't know. But that was just me. I don't think it's too short necessarily. I just think that yeah, the way they went about it was pretty bad. Maybe Ursel, did you want to touch on that anymore? I know you already kind of
Yeah,
touched
I
on
think
that.
I think the movie is actually a pretty good timing, like length. I think. Look, I'm gonna. How do I? I think the timing is fine. Actually, I'm gonna save some of these thoughts just because we're coming up to the end, like just to save for my final thoughts. But I know we also talked about the visual effects. But Parker, did you want to talk about the length of the movie?
Yeah, so the length of the movie's fine. 2 hours is your standard movie length, man. If this movie were 3 hours long, it would just be
Drag. It would drag.
I just don't like watching 3 hour movies, to be honest with you. It's why like the latest trilogy of Star Wars movies was just bleh to me because they were each 3 hours long and they had no substance to them. I felt like if Godzilla vs Kong was 3 hours long, it would be so boring I would rip my fucking hair out. But otherwise, man, if they could have just filled that 2 hours with substance, it would be the perfect time. But they make you want it shorter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess
Yeah.
now we can kind of let's kind of like give a nice summary. So just talk about, do you want to see future movies? Give your final thoughts, and then also go ahead and give your rating of the film. So I'll go ahead and start off. Future movies. I like both of these characters individually. And I'd be more than interested to see, obviously if they make good movies with each of these characters, go for it. But to be honest, I don't think the whole versus concept was really executed that well in Batman vs Superman. I don't think it was executed that well in this movie. I think these characters like own respective movies are better than when you mash them together. I think recently the only good like versus thing that we've gotten was like Captain America Civil War. But like Marvel, we all know Marvel's carrying the bag with so much stuff. But yeah, I mean, like I didn't think this movie was that good, but I would still be interested in watching future movies. But final thoughts, just encompassing everything. I think the length of this movie is fine. 2 hours is, I think, actually it's like an hour and 53 minutes, which is a very tight edit. You would think with that tight of an edit, though, that more of the movie would be about what we want to see in the movie, which is these two fighting each other. I felt like there was only, out of the hour 53 minutes, there's probably like 30 to 40 minutes of actual fighting and then like over an hour of just BS plot, which, yeah, we've roasted the plot. Doesn't really make much sense. But if you're going to dedicate 60% of the runtime towards the plot, then have it make sense, don't dedicate that much time and have us be like, what the hell does this even mean? I guess this makes sense. Also, the fighting, I thought the visual effects were pretty good. Not like the best I've seen, but still pretty good. I thought the fights were honestly they were fun to watch, but I didn't think they were like amazing. I thought like I for other movies that are similar to this, big monsters fighting each other, I like when there's a sense of scale to it all, where it feels like these are big, ginormous, like monsters just tumbling through cities and buildings or whatever and beating the shit out of each other, and you can tell they're huge. I felt like some of that went away with the fact that these were, two monsters of the same size, or three monsters of the same size fighting each other, and that I don't know, you didn't get that scale as much. I feel like if you watch like Godzilla 2014 or some of the older movies where you're seeing those monsters from the characters' perspectives a little bit more, it feels like there's these big, crazy, huge monsters. Even like something like Pacific Rim, it feels like, man, these are like big, towering creatures that are fighting each other. But I still found fun in those action scenes, even if I didn't think they're like the best action scenes I've ever seen. But overall, I think, is it the worst versus film I've seen? No, that title still holds the Batman versus Superman still holds that honor. But I think this movie is completely middle of the line. I don't think it's bad, because I think when it does strive, whenever it does do what it set out to do, it's a mindless, enjoyable ride, But I think also a lot of the character stuff is kind of boring, or just you don't care about it. And I don't think this movie does anything egregiously bad. There's just some silly stuff. So at the end of the day, I think I'm going to give this movie I think I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. So completely middle of the line, average. What about Parker? Do you want to go ahead?
So
give us your thoughts.
My final thoughts of this movie.
And first of all, future. Would you want to see future movies? Answer that first, and then go into your final thoughts.
For future movies, I definitely want to see them, because I know the capability that these movies have. The King Kong movie from 2005 was legendary. So I know they can create masterpieces, and I know they can get back to making good movies. But final thoughts of the movie: trash. Just trash. I like the visual effects a lot. I thought it just the way they made everything look, even the scene where they were going through Hollow Earth, it just looked really cool. That's all you can really say about it. It was very visually pleasing, but other than that, man, I was just so disappointed. I thought I was going to get more epic battle. I thought that there was going to be a little bit more of a story around it. And I thought I would be able to remember the characters' names by the end of it, but I can't, because literally they all are unimportant. So my final rating of this movie is a 5.3 out of 10. Pretty terrible, if you ask me.
I think we're going by 0.5.
0.5.
So would you go by 5 or 5.5?
Let's go to 5. So I'll have the same rating as you are. So a 5 out of 10 is pretty atrociously bad in my eyes. If you want me to be interested in the movie, it's got to be at least a 7, and 5 is just...
So Parker, I feel like you should clear up. What exactly is your ranking scale then? Because, so 5, because if you think 5 is bad, then it's not matching up with me then, because I think bad is like 4 and below.
See, I think bad's like anything that's in the 6 range, 5 range, to be honest. Like,
bad? Then what's okay?
Okay, I'd say 7's an okay, and then like 8's really good, or above average, really good.
8 is above average.
Yep,
8
really
is
good.
Above average.
See, so my higher scales, the higher numbers in the range have more of an impact, or like they're more differentiated. But like the lower scales, I can range those out a little bit more.
So I guess if you're putting 5 as really atrociously bad, then what is like 4 or 3 or 2 or 1?
Those are just absolute, like The Room, or like The Room. So those movies have like a value with them in terms of like just comedic relief, or like but there's a lot of indie films, or like just
okay, hold on.
projects
So,
that
Parker.
are way worse than this for
So
sure.
Parker, I'm genuinely curious. I'm gonna say the number, and then you just tell me what you would view that on a scale. 1
Yeah.
out of 10. What is 1 out of 10? One word description.
Never watch it again. Wasted
No,
my
no, no.
phone.
One word description. One word description.
Atrocious.
2 out of 10.
Ass. I could come up with like so many different words.
3 out of 10. 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Stinky.
4 out of 10.
Maybe like this is where maybe like The Room comes in. Like,
So you're saying a Room is 4 out of 10, and
if you're looking
Godzilla versus Kong is 5 out of 10. Room is not 1 out of 10. Room is 4 out of 10.
Room has more
see
value
The Room.
than
See,
this
I see
movie.
The Room having
Almost
value
debatable.
because it had like an impact. You know.
So bad it's good kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I would call that just. Bleh. That'd be my one word description. Bleh.
So then what about 5 out of 10?
5 out of 10 is just below average to bad.
6 out of 10.
Bad. I'll just say bad.
6 out of 10 is still bad, you're saying?
Yes, because you want to hit a certain threshold to where it's enjoyable, you know? And I feel like once you get to that 6.5, that's when it starts becoming like something good and great. If you give something a 6 out of 10, that shouldn't be like considered a good movie in any way, in my opinion.
What is it? And then 7 out of 10?
7 out of 10 is good. I'll say that, good.
So 6 out of 10 is bad, 7 out of 10 is good?
Yes, but like I'd say average is like 6.5. That's average.
Okay. And then 8 out of 10?
Above average to great.
Okay. And then I was just curious where.
So you kind of understand my scale a little bit more now, because
Yeah.
there's a lot.
I can see the
there's
graph
a
in
lot
my head.
that's worse than this Kong movie, like for sure. Like there is no way, but it's still bad. You know,
Because I don't think this movie's bad. I just think it's completely average. That's why. So
I think
just because me and Parker both give it a 5.
Yeah,
we have like different views on our 5.
That's why we explain these scales, because everybody has something different. But I think Kong is still bad, or Godzilla vs. Kong is still bad, but there's so many more movies that you could waste your time watching and get absolutely nothing out of. At least I got something out of this movie. But
fair.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
So, I think if there were future movies, I'd probably stray away from them a bit. I'm not super interested in seeing too much more of Godzilla and Kong. To me, I don't think that they could really. Yeah, I mean, Yankee Kang. I feel like they can't do a whole lot more than what they have done unless they're gonna involve human characters. I mean, otherwise it's just big monsters fighting.
I could see there being a Kong movie on like Hollow Earth, because that's where he is at the end.
Yeah, and I guess that could be interesting, but like, you know, if he can't talk, you know, there's only so much development you can have besides him just kicking the shit out of other things. So like for me, I don't think I'd watch future movies really. I think I got my decade dose
Kong
of Godzilla and Kong. I would say my final thoughts to wrap it up a bit. I would say I think this movie's mostly entertaining from like an action perspective. If you're trying to watch like a totally mindless action movie and see large monsters hitting each other in what is, I mean, some of the best CGI to date, then this is for you. I wouldn't expect to get any useful message or a lot of meaning out of this movie necessarily. But I do see this as a flaw because it does seem like they put some effort into the plot of the human characters, because there's so much of the movie is that in terms of runtime, not in terms of substance.
I feel like this movie would be
flat.
good for children, more than adults, you know?
And I think that's like the perfect
Right.
point that you're making, John, because it's like people are like will defend the movie and say like, oh well, what it's just supposed to be two monsters fighting like that, and it's a good mindless fun for that. But it's like, yeah, but that's genuinely not the majority of the film, you know? But
Exactly. Yeah, like I see, like what I said, I see it as a flaw because it was over half the runtime. So I think it's important to mention, especially when people are like, "Oh, this was one of the best movies I've seen." I saw it in like one of my work group chats. People were freaking out and getting super hyped over this, which good for you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm not trying to poop on anyone else's fun, but like you've got to recognize the flaws here and there, and like and when over half the movie is pretty much a giant flaw, I think it's important to take that into consideration, which leads me to my ranking, which funny enough is the exact same, 5 out of 10. It's okay. So 5 out of 10 for me is middle of the line. Same with Ursel. It's
See,
just okay. It feels somewhat unfinished from a story perspective. I mean, highly unfinished. But for me, I mean, it's just a monster movie. But like I said, when you dedicate over half your runtime and screen time to human characters and all of it's horse pucky, then it's important to consider.
I agree 100%.
see, a 5 out of 10 is an F grade, you know? Or at least to me, that's an F grade, and that's what this movie deserves in my eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Scale.
Oh, yeah. That makes okay. So Parker's rocking with the school scale a little bit. That's where his yeah. Because to me, a five is like probably equivalent to like a C. You know, if we're going on that scale, and F I'd probably say is like it's probably 3 out of 10 and below. Like the movie is a complete actual fail. 4 out of 10 is like probably D. But anyways, that's I think that's everything. We all gave it a 5 out of 10, which is funny. So you know, there you go, 5 out of 10 overall ranking for the Controller Cast. But yeah, we will. Thank you for listening, everyone. You know, obviously share. I really want to say thank you to everyone that's been listening. We've gotten, in my opinion, really good feedback, listenership in the first month or so. So keep on sharing, keep on spreading the word. And just, I really appreciate that there's however many of you that are tuning in every week to listen to us for a few hours, just shooting the shit. So follow us on socials, share, keep listening. And that's all I have to say. John, Parker, you guys want to say anything to close it out?
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. If you are a regular listener and are still listening, I would say just share with your friends. I mean, if there's a reason that you're enjoying it, I'm sure that your friends would enjoy it too. So, share, like, subscribe, on whatever your favorite podcast platform is, and we'll see you guys in the next
episode 5, everyone. Take care and have a nice week. Adios.
Peace.
Peace out.